It's been a while since I did one of these, but I just loved the Lost Vikings and felt I had to share them with people. They're the latest hero Blizzard's put out in Heroes of the Storm, and they are a trio, as would be apparent from the game they're from. They are a melee specialist, though only Olaf is actually melee. Alog has special animation if he's attacking something in melee, but he's effectively a ranged character. They've got a couple skins. The Pajama Party Lost Vikings, which is... I mean, this would be a good skin, might be cooler for this tint, but I'm not really big on them. They're basic skins. This one kind of makes Balog here look like Draven. And their master skin. Bask in its glory, and watch as they look like they do in their sequel game. Now you might be asking, okay, why are we at the replay screen? There's a good reason. The Vikings require an absurd amount of micromanagement to operate properly, and I'm just not going to be able to pull that off with the recording going on at the same time. So I've got a good game from a versus match with them, on their best map as far as I know. The Dragonshire. The Lost Vikings make it more apparent than any other hero in the game that this is, in fact, the StarCraft 2 engine. Because for those of you familiar with StarCraft 2, the Vikings are set to control groups. You can't change them, but generally you can select whatever you want. Olaf the Stout is 1, Balog the Strong is 2, and Eric the Swift is 3. 4 will select all 3 Vikings at once. If you want to select 2 of them, you just drag over the 2 of them. Or select one, hold select, and then click on the other. Or hold shift, I'm sorry.
Heroes, prepare for combat.
There are a few early game talents that the Vikings can go with. Olaf the Stout is effectively block, except it does it to a 75% degree. Stores up to 2 charges, just like block.
Battle
Slightly better than block, as
10
this enemy
seconds.
artist has, so we can compare. What's its cooldown time?
5,
Just periodically.
3, 2, 1.
The other options
the
are one
battle
that makes
begin.
Eric invisible and increases his detection range, or when he is stationary, sort of like Teemo from League of Legends. Or one that increases the Vikings' health regeneration and increases it further every time they pick up a health orb. This is my standard Viking configuration for
Red
early
team
battle.
draws first blood.
The enemy was very aggressive early on here. They pushed the advantage when they had it. The Vikings all have very low health, as you can tell by the bars.
Let loose the dragon knight.
Olaf there only has as much health as, say, Jaina at level 1, which is not much at all. But the counterpoint is that he heals in the same manner as Muradin does. When out of combat, he will... well, not when out of combat, but when not damaged recently, he begins to regenerate health at an incredibly rapid rate. This makes him great for tanking things.
Activate the shrines and the
Balog
dragon's
the Strong
power
here.
is yours.
Throws swords that do a shotgun cone splash. It's very important to position him well to maximize your splash. I'm not trying too hard here, or rather, well, I'm more focused on other things. Yeah, they got Dragon Knight here, there wasn't much I could do. And down goes Balog. Their respawn timers are very low, and killing one is the equivalent of 1/4 of a hero kill. Eric the Swift moves at mounted speed at all times, and has longer auto-attack range than the others, by a fair bit. He's the weakest of them all, but he's great for chasing things down. Or running to objectives if need be. Fortunately, they didn't get too much progress out of this Dragon Knight. And he just punts Olaf right out of there. He doesn't seem to quite understand that Olaf is really not that dangerous. Olaf is beefy, but... And here, with that done, I go to get us some mercenaries. At level 4, I picked up their Q ability, Spin to Win. They start with no abilities. Kind of interesting. You can pick from various options, either getting their actual abilities, or you can just get passive upgrades to them. At level 7, I could get their ability Leap, which is their W, but I'm not going to. Partially because I feel it's kind of buggy. These guys have quite a few bugs to them that annoy me to a good degree, but... Oh, Frostmourn's coming, guys. Just standing in those bushes there. Yeah, Spin to Win makes all the Vikings spin in a circle, damaging everything near them. If multiple Vikings overlap the target with their spins, the damage stacks. I don't know if that's intended or not. It's hard to tell at this point. It probably is, considering its overall low damage without it. But it was great for stopping out that Uratoh. He's clearly a free weak Uratoh, even if he has gotten talents unlocked. I don't want to insult him, he just doesn't quite commit to killing Vikings as well as he should. He gets me sometimes, yes, but he should be making my life a lot more difficult than it is. And our Tazadar just is upset when our Nazebo isn't zombie walling at the exact moment he wants him to. Just another thing to note about the Vikings is that while I've got all 3 of them down here for the Dragon Shrine, only one of them needs to be here to capture an objective. You can theoretically send one Viking top, one Viking bottom, and one in the middle to pick it up once it's unlocked. Though that really is not a terribly good idea. You can certainly split them up as much as you want, but it's down to your ability to micro them and the fact that by themselves, aside from Balog, they can't really accomplish all that much. Here I've got him pushing things out a bit while we are waiting on the Dragon Knight. What's going on up there? I was too busy watching for Zeratul flickers to actually pay much attention up here. Yeah, Olaf's just chilling, having a drumstick, while the guys with ranged attacks take on the turrets. I picked up Balog the Strong. I think that's what it's called. Oh, it's Balog the Fierce. I'm sorry, Balog. I'm calling you Balog the Strong. You're Balog the Fierce. But anyway, it makes his attack speed ramp up quite significantly as he swings, throws. Like, he gets into some kind of crazy momentum. Here, I sent Eric up to try and capture the Dragon Knight, but Nazebo took it. If one of the Vikings captures the Dragon Knight or Garden Terror, then they remain separate from the other 2. You can control the Garden Terror individually, or give it orders along with the others. It's one of the buggier things with them, Olaf seems to have the tendency to forget what he was auto-attacking. I don't know why, but this also applies to the Garden Terror and Dragon Knight as well. And it makes it kind of tricky to micro them all, because you can't just rely on it to continue beating things. Isn't it interesting that we don't actually get much done with the Dragon Knight no matter who gets it, but our side has a bit more mobile pushing power than they do. So while the rest of the team was up there distracted by the Dragon Knight, we got a fort down. And this is their ult, for the 2 seconds I have it active. It combines all 3 Vikings, or 2 or 1, depending on how many there are left, into one longboat with the Vikings on board. All of them have to be close to each other for them to actually combine, otherwise it's grayed out. And while in longboat form, it has health based on the number of Vikings you combined into it. I'm not sure if it's all their health combined, or if it's a set number based on. But its effects don't change offensively. What it does is it automatically fires homing projectiles at the nearest enemy target based on priority. It will prioritize heroes over anything else. So first it will go for closest hero. If it doesn't have any of those, it will go for closest enemy minion or mercenary. And then it will go for the buildings. Which means it's absolutely terrible at pushing buildings with that. It does, however, have a Q that launches a siege mortar when it feels like activating. It's one of the buggier things as well. At first I thought it was activating it without all 3 Vikings, but it's kind of inconsistent at all.
Free him and destroy your enemy.
I like this fight. I'm not sure if he recognized Baliog as the big threat, or if it was just the one he could get at, but... And just as Olaf is about to go down... Longboat away! Yeah, look at those 2 there. They don't have a mount, but if you press Z, it will make them all run really, really fast. Yes, this means Eric is absurdly swift in that mode.
Slain.
Just kind of got these 2 guys down here guarding at this point. I don't believe anything actually happened there, so let's watch Eric being annoying. That's another great thing, in that he can soak this lane while nothing else is happening. Ah yes, we got attacked down here. This was the throwaway for the Dragon Knight. Forgot about this. I kept him there to keep the shrine long enough to unlock the Dragon Knight. And like I said, we never really got much use out of these Dragon Knights. All the action is up here with Gazebo and Brightwing, which is of course. No one got much done with the Dragon Knight. And Sergeant Hammer sent me flying back away just in time to get Eric running to safety.
Hero slain.
And here we've got Baliog coming back up. I believe I was trying to group them so I could ult at this point. And then they backed off. That Uratoh was good at being annoying. I'll give him that. And he was good at getting away. Yeah, we didn't really catch him much. I forget when he finally got taken down. He was disappointed to discover that Raynor had been healed and left. At this point, I've unlocked all the Viking stuff I can actually get. At this point, we picked up Impatience is a Virtue. So yeah, it says enemies damaged by a Viking's basic attack reduce the cooldown of all their abilities by 1/4 of a second. That actually really adds up when Balog is splashing across enemy minion waves. It means they can pretty much run all over the map and keep pushing. The other real option of contention on that one is an ability to set Olaf on fire with the Burning Rage thing, like all those other tanks have. And at 16, I picked up Norse Force, which grants them all a shield. Here, last possible second, Balog hops in the longboat. And I send him back to base for heals. The range on that is pretty much the Vikings' line of sight. So if you're within their line of sight, in theory, and they have vision, like if they are here, and there's something over here, but there's an enemy vision, then they will fire at them. And here we have the Dragon Knight. That does not really count all that much. We had basically gotten that down. Not to diminish him getting the Dragon Knight pushing, taking some towers. I just find it hilarious how little actual good pushing got done. Compared to down here now. And there goes Arthas. Eric is very good at landing the last hit on things because he can just keep chasing. And this is my normal setup for the Vikings on Knights. And see, he just forgot what he was doing right there. Position so Balog splashes across all the Knights. Olaf takes the brunt of the damage.
Blue team has destroyed the fort.
At level 20, I pick up the upgrade for their ult, which doesn't do all that much, but it does increase the mortar's range and makes them fire 2 homing shots simultaneously, making it exceptionally good at zoning. And here's where Hammer shows up. The Vikings' biggest weakness is that they have comparably low health individually. So heroes that can do AoE effectively really mess with them. That's why I had so much trouble with Arthas early on.
The shrines are gathering power. The Dragon Knight calls from within the sky.
One thing to keep in mind if you play the Vikings, Eric likes to do this. Just run out ahead of everyone. Brightwing gets a Norse escort out of the combat zone. The other option of an ult for the Vikings is called Play Again. It's got a slightly lower cooldown, and what it does is you select one of the Vikings specifically when you cast it. And the Viking who cast it revives all the other dead Vikings and teleports them to his location. The problem with this ult is that it's pretty much just a come back when you're losing ult. but you can get an extra health bar with their longbows. So it's easier to keep the Vikings alive with it than it is to actually keep reviving them and giving the enemy experience. It's not much experience, but it is experience. And here's where I get outplayed by other characters who have no mounts. On the flip side to the Vikings being multiple characters, supports like Brightwing are great to have around with them. Not only can they get healing done on multiple characters at once, but they can transfer across the map pretty quickly. So like Eric can be running along and Abathur can pop a hat on him. Or Brightwing can... Yep, there goes the right longbow. Does not look like my Q was working here. The projectiles are very visually different. You can identify them because they're giant spiked balls of death. See, they didn't get much done with their Dragon Knight either. I'm running out of things to say about the Lost Vikings. I really like them, but they are so buggy right now that it's almost infuriating. They're squishy, so they can be dealt with really focused teams, but they're sturdy enough that they don't become a huge liability. And here's where that Uratoh was very good at evading. I will give him that. I will give him a lot of credit for that. At this point I realized we are not getting him, and he is baiting us to his team. Unfortunately for that Arthas, the Nazebo got the hug circles down pat. And that is exactly why that ult is awesome. Q working or no, it saved them all.
The shrines are gathering power. The Dragon Knight calls.
Now, we basically won at this point. We're battering down their door. So I decided to be silly. Since the entire enemy team was busy defending. Olaf to the bottom, Balog to the top, and Eric to the middle. Oh yeah, there I am, warning them I'm going to be stupid. Just to pull this off in a real game, you know? Forget if I did it. Yep. And the Dragon Knight cheers triumphantly! Ha ha ha! If anyone knows how to get streaming going, I'd really like to start streaming this game some. It's quite fun. Later, everyone.